speaking of which...
Oh, God.
Arguably, the biggest talking point of the weekend was nothing to do with what happened on the racetrack. It happened on Thursday. Press conference day in Formula One circles. And
hey, everyone wanted press conferences to be more entertaining. You got your wish.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, fans. But Lewis Hamilton was in the middle of a press conference and he whips out his phone and starts Snapchatting people. You know, he takes a couple of pictures of Carlos Sainz in the bunny ears filter. Very fetching, I must say. And, you know, he's taking photos of the press and he's putting his camera on. He's like, I think he said this shit is boring or something like that as a quote on Snapchat. And I think at one point he was talking about how boring it was while using a picture of his engineer or some guy in a Mercedes shirt. So, talking about how boring this whole thing was. And of course, after this, the media got pissed.
Disrespect.
Yeah, like the Hamilton's antics during the press conference was disrespectful. And yeah, it spilled over onto Saturday because after qualifying, where Hamilton qualified in second, just 0.013 of a second behind Rosberg, he refused to appear for the Saturday post-quali conference because he felt that, you know, the British media's writing about him for his Snapchat handles was disrespectful. So, of course, Hamilton did not show up to the press conference there. He released just a brief statement and then he was on his way back to the garage. So for the second race in a row, Hamilton has boycotted the media on something. You know, that's really gonna you know, give Fleet Street all the smiles in the world. But this was... A lot of people have had a lot to say on this, including yours truly, on this here YouTube channel.
An entire Dre brief.
Like, I had a script ready to go. I scrapped it all at the last minute and did an entire episode from scratch in 3 hours. I was that amped up about it that I just basically thought, fuck it, we're doing a totally different episode and we're doing it right now. So there's a little bit of a behind the scenes for you. But it's like, I'm not sure where to start on this one personally, but for me, I didn't have a problem with what Hamilton did during the presser. Like, I am just not wired that way to have a go at someone having a bit of a having a bit of a joke and a laugh during a press conference. King, you see it slightly differently than I do.
I see it slightly differently because press conferences are not for entertainment purposes, as despite what a lot of people like to believe.
Yeah, but my question... Sorry, go on. Finish your point.
They're information gathering sessions.
But why are they televised then?
Because we, the fans, demanded they be televised.
Yeah,
fucking
for
idiots.
Transparency. Because, like, even before they were televised, the FIA always releases full transcripts of what's been said there. Like, I've never watched a press conference. I always read the transcript because I could just search through for what I want to, you know, read about.
And also, with that as well, when you read the transcript, they're not going to be twisted like the media will inevitably end up doing when they publish their takeaways from whatever happens during a press conference. So,
yeah, and the reason why I feel like what Lewis did was disrespectful, because you wouldn't do that if you were in a setting like that. If you were in like a group meeting with your peers and your boss, you wouldn't, you know, take out your phone and start Snapchatting.
But this wasn't a group meeting with his bosses and his colleagues. It wasn't. It was a media gathering, you know.
Which is pretty much the same thing.
No,
That's
it isn't.
Yes, it is. It's a press conference. like you would be perfectly fine if Theresa May, during Wednesday's Prime Minister questions, took out her phone and started Snapchatting people.
It'll be better than abolishing the Human Rights Act, that's for sure.
I mean, what Lewis did is 100% not okay.
Like, I'll be fair here. 2 or 3 people said this on my Twitter timeline when it happened. A couple of people said, okay, Hamilton's kind of in the wrong because what he did was out of order. And I'm like I said, you're talking to a guy that has an entire podcast based about having a laugh about a sport where it's almost impossible to have a laugh in. You're not going to convince me on this one, okay? Like, I'm not saying you're wrong, King, because I do genuinely see where you're coming from here, but I'm just not that guy. Hashtag not that guy. What guy? Not that guy.
And like expecting the press not to talk about it is even more ridiculous. You're not Babe Ruth. Get over yourself.
I think, to be honest, if I may have my brief moment here, gents, before I retreat to safety with a cup of tea.
Before I strangle King.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I thought things were going to get intense last week between your boys. Basically, I think Dre jokingly summed it up pretty perfectly before they started recording when he said, basically, everyone's a bit in the wrong here.
Yes.
We have Lewis Hamilton, who, I mean, at first, I was very much like, really? Is this a story? But, I mean, I've been there. I've been in press conferences and accredited journalists before. If you're trying to ask, I mean, the thing is, the way I've always seen it, the relationship between the media and racing drivers is a bit like the relationship between humans and spiders. Both are about as anxious and wary of the other as the other is. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole saying about spiders are just as scared as you are they. Kind of similar for racing drivers. You'd be surprised at how much racing drivers kind of are aware that the media are a thing they have to deal with and they're a necessary evil, but kind of don't want to at the same time.
That's why we often use the term PR-centric answer, because they're so afraid of pissing people off having their words twisted.
Exactly,
I mean,
yeah.
Look how much we criticised Rachel Brooks earlier this season when she was asking some really stupid, asinine questions to people like Dino Kvyat and Nico Rosberg. So I get it. I totally get where you're coming from on this one.
Yeah, but the thing is here, yeah, Hamilton's probably a bit disrespectful because it's like it's a common courtesy thing. If you're trying to talk to someone and they're just sat on their phone, you just go, "Excuse me, you can fucking pay attention to me or what?" You know what I mean? That's a bit rude, but at the same time, I feel like the press has gone completely overboard here in a sort of. They've kind of ended up like there's a real snobbery about it, like, oh, we are the arbitrators of everything, we decide your fate sort of thing. And it's a bit like, yeah, but at the same time, was it really like, what questions were you asking him? Were they really that mind-blowing?
No.
Were they really like, was this like a game-changing thing? Like, I don't know. I feel like, actually, one person who did sum it up really well was Martin Brundle in his Sky Sports column. I thought he really nailed it quite well because, as he said, you know, the media are very important in terms of motorsport and motor racing drivers because, of course, they're basically the lifeblood for drivers to, you know, to attract sponsors and fans in the first place. Do you know what I mean? If they have no platform, then, you know, it's like if a tree falls in the forest. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, there was a real kind of sanctimony about it and a sort of old man attitude of, you know, there was an article in The Guardian where most of the race report was spent slagging off Lewis Hamilton as lazy and not paying attention. He was more obsessed.
On LBC yesterday.
Which made me like Hamilton, to be honest with you. If anything that pisses off Katie Hopkins, fine by me. Lewis, keep doing your thing. Yes, we all approve. That's the best thing about it. That's basically Lewis Hamilton's best babyface
turn. Your point
turn.
is now invalid. Katie Hopkins is on board with you. Sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah, King, you're on the same side as Katie Hopkins.
Well, we are not on the same side.
Sorry.
Next, you've got Donald Trump wading in, be like, oh, Lewis Hamilton's disrespectful, and the whole world will be on Hamilton's side.
Lewis Hamilton is right. He's a winner. He's a winner. I like winners. I like people to win. But, yeah, I mean, again, like I said, being real with you here, like, I get where the people on Hamilton's side are saying that, you know, the media went far too far on this one. I was like...
Can I just say as well, what got stupid was people trying to accuse all that of then, like, it was directly linked to his crap start. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the media somehow going, like, slapping themselves on the back after the race, like, look at him there. He Snapchats us on Thursday and then he cocks up his start. What a prat. And it's like, no, just because you were mean to him in the newspaper doesn't mean he then goes, oh shit, I'd better not give the media more things to... Oh, I've cocked up his start. Fuck's sake.
There's a reach and then there's trying to build a ladder to the moon. That's what that is right there. And
there's a reach and there's Stretch Armstrong.
Like for me, okay, I could see why somebody might think that Hamilton was being disrespectful. I do genuinely believe Lewis on Twitter when he was saying he was just trying to be sincere. And I do ultimately agree with him, and I'm quite cynical regarding Lewis. I'm sure many people that listen to the show know that already. I do believe he was being... I don't think he was trying to piss anybody off when he broke out his phone and started Snapchatting people, even if he indirectly kind of threw some shade at the media in the process. And of course...
Okay, quick question. Was he right to not show up on Saturday?
If he's taken offense to it, and he genuinely believes that if he's genuinely offended by what he's written about himself in the press, then he's got every right not to show up, in my opinion. Like if I was that pissed off at the media, I wouldn't start sitting down and giving them more questions to answer, and then writing them about me more so. Or
you just do the old "I'm just here so I don't get fined."
Exactly. Like if you're that convinced and you believe in that so strongly, then fine. I haven't got a problem with that. I mean, ultimately, I think Hamilton was basically like giving them a red rag to a bull by not showing up on Saturday, because it kind of vindicates what the media was saying about him in the first place on Thursday. So I don't think there's any real right answer here. It's either swallow your pride and your ego and take their asinine questions, or you don't show up and have those same people criticize and condemn you even more, because those same journalists will double down on what they were saying on Thursday. So quite frankly, I think Lewis is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, quite frankly. So I don't think there's any real right answer for me on this one. I think it was an ugly situation that was blown way out of proportion, and ultimately, sure, I think there's a point you can make that maybe Lewis was being disrespectful on the Thursday, but I think context is important here. This is a man that's had to do 100 plus of these press conferences over the years now, and I can't blame him for trying to do something a little bit different. That's what Lewis is. He is a very different sort of person in an F1 space that almost is crying out for someone like him. So if he keeps trying to reinvent, try and push the needle, try and reinvent the wheel, I can't blame him. Even though, as I'm sure King will attest, a press conference probably just isn't the place to do something like that, because it's the definition
That's the place where you probably have to mind your P's and Q's.
It's the definition of